Robert Plank Show, episode 111. Make the right business decisions for maximum success with Donald Mazzella. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Robert Plank Show. This is the podcast where we talk about making money. Our guest today is Donald P. Mazzella. Donald P. Mazzella is a political and lifestyle expert who has been seen on MSNBC, Bloomberg, and in the Wall Street Journal. He is the COO of Information Strategies, Inc., a company that helps business managers improve profits. He currently oversees a print and internet publication network centered around Small Business Digest with more than 3.2 million opt-in small business readers and healthcare industry stakeholders. Well, cool. Donald, I'm Robert. Nice to meet you.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So, tell me about yourself. Tell me about what you do.
Well, basically, right now we're just finishing. We've just put together a book, 97 experts on how to grow a small business, which will appear in September. We're expanding. Small Business Digest has been around since 2000, and it's had its ups and downs. Right now, it's in expansion mode. We've been helping small business managers, as you say, uh, add profits. And ultimately, how you do that covers three main areas. You grow your business, you grow your profit line, or you sell your business. It's ironic in today's world, a majority of small business owners above the age of 50 will tell you all they want to do is get out.
Right.
Um, Exit strategies are now becoming very important.
So that's what you do compared to everyone else. You're all about the exit strategy.
Well, we try to, well, we tell our audience and our stories. I should also say, most of our stories come from other entrepreneurs or from stakeholders in the area. We've had Marcus Luminous on the program, J.D. Powers. We have a whole John Scully. We generally look for the people who've been successful and ask them how they've been successful, how they exited, um, and we try to get them to provide one or two nuggets of information that our audience can use, whether it's in our radio program, whether it's on our newsletters or in our e-zine, and now in the book. We just try to get them uh, to talk to our audience because who knows better how to do things than people who have done it? And interestingly enough, sometimes we get someone who failed because sometimes you learn more from failure than you do from success.
Oh yeah, when things don't go the right way and they have to readjust and change direction. So could you talk about one of like an example from your book, one of these big failures that kind of jumps out at you?
Well, can I talk about a success strategy? Because it happens to come to mind because everybody has a business card. But as one of our experts said, your business card should be one of your most effective marketing tools. And she goes into detail. She actually has a test that's included in the book on what your business card can do and how to do it. For, uh, for instance, your name of your company. Uh, it should be immediately recognizable or distinctive. If it can be both, it's great. That's one. And but now to give you one about failure, 53% of all of the people we've talked to over the years, and we've kept a running tally, have told us the biggest single factor in failure is financing, not having enough financing. Uh, that's number one. Ironically, number two, and which is reason we um, uh, labeled the book "Recalculating," is the fact that the industry was changing and they didn't realize it. I thought that was fairly interesting. And then the third reason they said for failure um, was the fact they picked the wrong people. Those are the three major reasons for failure, and it's consistent throughout the book and throughout the years we've been on the air. If you ask them, if you ask them what's a success, they'll tell you number one, they picked the right people. Number two, they happen to have the right service or product at the right time. And number three, which I found interesting, a lot of them said luck. They happen to do it right.
Or like luck in terms of they they put out enough things, they had enough projects going that one thing ended up taking off, right?
Right, correct. Well, I always use the story. Are you familiar that the man who created Xerox was going to Rochester in a snowstorm, and he got a taxi driver. And since they were making slow progress, he told him what he was doing. The taxi driver said, "Well, my sister and I want to invest," and they invested then unheard of sum for of $25,000, and they were became multi millionaires, if not billionaires, because of that. Now, what is that? Luck? Listening to the right person. Well, I always use that story because I consider luck when you listen, when you hear something and act on it, or when you hit a situation and act on it.
So decisiveness.
Oh, absolutely.
Cool. And I mean, I like books like that. I like stuff like like the chicken soup kind of books where you can kind of just get different different perspectives or different ideas. And I really like stuff like, for example, Think and Grow Rich, where they've just taken all the sum total of everyone successes and failures and like drew some conclusions that are just like the common threads from all these people from different eras in time, different ages, different industries, all that good stuff.
Well, I hate to disagree with the host, but I disagree in one way.
Okay.
Um, all of these books, and that's one of the reasons why we wrote this book. They distill it down to simple procedures, and I believe in small business or any business, we're made up of a series of decisions, no one of which alone can topple you. I mean, if you look at Kodak, on the big side, um, or for that matter, Yahoo. Yahoo had the world, and what happened? It sold the world for $4 billion. I mean, uh, I think life and small business is a series of decisions, one leading into the other, one leading into it. That's why. And if you read the Chicken Soup for the Soul books and on happiness, etc., um, I happen to have read them all because I was involved in a court case involving chicken soup, and it's a formula to it, but at the end, it's like a formula you had for tomato soup. Um, it fills you for a while, but leaves you strangely unsatisfied.
Okay, so what you're saying is that like these chicken soup kind of books, there's not really much behind it, but what you have in this recalculating book is everyone has their own story and you can draw your own conclusions, but there's some real lessons behind it then.
I wish I could have said it as succinctly as you did. And I'm not denigrating these books. I wish I had the chicken soup franchise. You and I could retire easily on it. Um, but that's what I believe. I believe that um, small business leaders or managers face decisions every day. Some large, some small, and often. But the worst part about it is they usually don't have anybody to talk to help them make that decision. That's the difference. You can have an overall philosophy. If you're a gambler, sometimes the gamblers all have a system, but at some point, you have to make a decision that's outside of these parameters, and that to me was what separates many successful small businesses. It's one of the questions I ask our people when I assign a story. I asked the reporter, "Have you asked what they consider the decision that made or break them?" And if they haven't asked them, I have them go back. And it's amazing. People say, I never thought of it that way. Let me go and look at it. Then they say that and said, but if I hadn't have made that decision, I would have had to do that. So we're beating it a little bit, but uh, that's how I feel about it.
So you're saying it's kind of like the butterfly effect in a lot of ways, then, right? Like some small decision that you had to make, and it's a good reason that you did make it so long ago, led to this whole path of all these other things.
Absolutely. In the case of Kodak, what decision they made? They were not going after the digital camera marketplace. I mean, that was a big decision. But Kodak holds all of the patents on digital photography, or did, and has sold them off. A company up the street, where just had an article across my desk today. Where do you put your second store? Oftentimes, people think about the first store, but they don't think as much about the second store. They say, "Gee, that's a good location, a lot of traffic, etc." Yes, but the demographics of the surrounding neighborhood are not. Those are the kind of decisions. Now, once you're committed to that area, then you have to do a lot of other decisions in order to make it work. And maybe sometimes you can make it work, but there are other times when no matter what you do, you're ending up with uh, a poor location. Uh, am I making myself clear on that point?
Yeah. So, I mean, could you unpack that a little bit? Could you tell me about in your book someone's decision where just no decision was the right decision? I guess you're saying.
Oh yeah, it's a it's a that's a really good question. Um, and the answer in our book, we talk about how you make a decision and not make a decision. I'm going to look at the list of contributors. Got 100 of them. Um, see which one probably. Oh, um, the one that comes to mind. They're talking about a lot of companies. Over 50% of companies still do not use social media. And as our one of our contributors, Bob Heyman, points out, the decision not to do social media has ramifications far beyond. One example: if you're not using social media, if you're not signing up people for your newsletter, if you're not doing 1,000 things that are required, you're not going to be the perception of your customer is going to change. Um, the problem all of these big box stores, Talbots, everybody else is having, ironically, as you know, Walmart is now thinking of buying Jet.com because it recognized that not having a social presence that is respected and used by the consumers is hurting its brick and mortar business. So Walmart is doing what many big companies do. They're going out and buying the expertise. And that's the case, I think. And as Bob Heyman points out, the one single decision that he's non-decision that has seen that's really hurt has been the smaller companies not embracing social media.
So with all this, like the decisions and especially things like that, like some old school company or some huge company, they might hear like we should do this or we should do that. How do you sort that out from all the noise? Like, how do you know if this thing coming that comes across you and you think, okay, well, I need to have social media? How do you know if that is a real thing that you need to be going after, or how do you know if that's something that you should just ignore and focus on something more important?
That's a good question, and I wish I had a simplified answer. Um, we divide the book into five parts: leadership, marketing, um, uh, operations, technology, human capital, and finance. Uh, in doing so, we did it because we found that the average small business owner um, uses a combination of them every day. Um, Depending on the company and depending on the individual, um, they go in various orders. There are some people who are technically trained that operations and technology is they make the decisions based on that first, and then second, third, and fourth. Someone else, a marketeer, does it in the reverse marketing first, and then the others. Um, in order to make um, any decision, you have to make uh, the one column and the right column, left column, and decide after you've done all that. And most people do it mentally. I don't know about you, but I do it. Uh, when, when they finally put it all together, they then look at it and say, "Ah, that's my. This is my decision. This is why I'm going forward." But but in the end, it's usually based on the bias of the individual, which we talk about in the book.
So, as what you're saying is that, so I mean, you have like the book broken down into these five sections. So, is what you're saying that someone could look at your book and they could narrow down if they want to focus just on, say, like marketing or just on finance. They could narrow down which section. They could read one of these stories from one of these experts, and then if they decide that okay, that's my weak spot. Like my weak spot is I need better marketing, then they could kind of make a list of pros and cons and decide if that is something that they should do or not.
Well, you said it better than me again. You're good at it. The answer is yes. And within that sales and marketing section, there are how-to articles on how to do it. If you decide you want social media, for instance, there's three or four stories on contributions on social media from some of the top names. In operations, the interesting thing about operations is, as you're, I'm sure, aware, it's a lot easier to start a company today than it was 5 years ago. Um, Most of the heavy lifting, you don't have to create a financial package that's available. You don't have to create an inventory management system. You can all tie it into your e-commerce site so that you have instant inventory, instant distribution, etc. The world has changed radically, and as someone said, I wish I had said it, is all you have to do is come up with the idea and the product. The rest is available via technology, and I really think that's the case.
I think so too. I think that it's a lot more civilized. And I think that, like you said, even 5, 10 years ago, if someone were to start a business, even just to have like a cash register, a point of sale machine would have been thousands of dollars, and they would have
Hmm.
to, get a merchant account and get some custom coding. And I mean, now there's like a little, PayPal little doohickey. Now there's a Stripe little thing that just plugs into any iPad. So I mean, it seems a lot more civilized and a lot more streamlined. I mean, a really kind of exciting time. And I really like your idea for this book, just because you hear all these stories. Like, I mean, even something that might not directly relate to someone's business, like Kodak or Xerox. Like, I can read some story, and it's almost like I'm just kind of reading it for entertainment, but then I might see some similarities or some differences with like my business or their business, and just because my marketing studying student brain has kind of turned off, and I'm just kind of reading some other business story like just for fun, I can pick up little nuggets just because I don't know, because I was in a better mode, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Well,
I
cool.
agree.
Well, I don't want to keep you too long, but as we're winding down this call, could you share with us what you see out of all these stories, out of all these businesses, successes and failures and decisions, out of all this stuff, what would you say is the number one mistake you see everyone making these days?
Poor choice in personnel.
Cool. Poor choice in personnel. So if they, I mean, if they're not sure at all where to begin, they're not sure at all where the problem is, where to correct that. You're saying that's the common weak spot for everybody.
That and that and obviously make sure you have enough financing. If you think you need 50,000, you probably need 100,000. If you need 5,000, you need 10,000. That is the thing, and be prepared to work hard. Many people think that owning a small business is easy. It's a 24 by 7 um, requirement, and it's interesting. As you know, the sons and daughters of small business owners do not want to go into the business because they grew up uh, knowing that their parents, and usually the two, devoted more time to the business than to them. So very interesting. There are more businesses available for sale today than at any time in the last 10 years. And the main reason people will tell you we have no one to give it to.
I mean, it's kind of sad, but also a big opportunity for the right people who want to pick up those businesses.
Yes, yes. Um, but there's also opportunity. It's interesting. We complain about immigrants, but the immigrants are the ones that seem to want to take the chance more and more. Most Dunkin' Donuts are Pakistani owned. A lot of dry cleaning stores are Greek owned here in New Jersey. It's really a funny thing how they foreign born are willing to take the chance that our own children don't seem to want to take.
It's interesting kind of how it's evolved that way, but if they're willing to fill that slot, then more power to them. Well,
Absolutely.
so great. So I mean, I really like the idea of your book, and I really like the things that you have to say. So could you tell us where people can find that book, and maybe even anything else you have to offer?
Okay, it will be available September 15th on Barnes and Noble and uh, um, Amazon. Our publisher is bricktowerpress.com. It'll be available there. There's also a e-reader available. All of that will be available September 15th.
And the book is called Recalculating, is that right?
Recalculating 97 experts driving small business success.
Awesome. So September 15th, Recalculating, Donald Mazzella. I can't wait to read a copy for myself.
Well, I'm glad. I hope I piqued the audience's interest.
Yeah, I mean, I like everything you have to say. Great insights. So, I mean, can't wait. Recalculating, and I'll check it out as soon as it's out.
Have a good day.
You too.